and a very warm welcome to you from myself and Seb Rombi. I am Steve Falconbridge in Djuma. Come out in pre-dawn with the spotlights, and Seb has spotted something very spot. And I'm wondering if you can see it, but there is a snake just here. Can you see him, Seb?
Yeah, we can.
You can't see the head. You can't see the head. The head is just poking in the bushes there, and looks to me to be a spotted bush snake. Just from what I can see, a very arboreal snake. These guys love to climb trees. They're perfectly adapted for it, and they're perfectly camouflaged. How Mr. Rombi was able to see the snake is beyond me, but what a spot indeed. Please feel free to post your questions at Safari Live or follow us on the YouTube stream. Let us know what you'd like to talk about this morning. We came out of camp. We got some lion tracks on the concession. I know Taylor's going to be hot on the heels of what we think is potentially the Nkuhuma Pride. And then Mr. Scott Dyson will be joining us for a bushwalk. And I'll be out meandering towards the south and then coming back around to assist Taylor with any tracks of those lions who I am sure are following the buffalo that came in last night. So what a marvelous start to this morning. This little bush snake is watching me quite closely. His head is not visible. Can you see the head? The head is... There he goes. There he goes. Can you see him now? They are very fast, Nix. Indeed, there we can see the head. Nice spots on the body. Green snake with little spots, but so well adapted for climbing. Unbelievable. Nice little predator moving through the night in search of all sorts of small and wonderful prey items. Fantastic to see. Effortless movement through the foliage there. It is now climbing through from a magic quarry into a sickle bush. Ginger would like to know if the snake is venomous. And all snakes, apart from the python in South Africa, have got a form of venom. I suppose also the brown house snake does not have venom, but this snake does indeed have venom. It would be a hemotoxic venom, back-fanged snake. But with regards to human safety, these snakes are not aggressive and are not renowned for biting. But if it did bite me, it would be a bit of a painful bite, but I doubt it would create too much of a concern. It's not one of the worry about snakes, but I don't handle them anyway. I would never go and try to stick my hands in the bushes there and grab it and pull it out for the pleasure of TV or for myself. I think it's wonderful that we're able to view these animals in their natural environment, completely camouflaged, doing its thing. Nice stalk and stealth predator sitting in the tree waiting for any chameleon, or looking for chameleons, for example, or small insects. What a marvelous start to the day. Well, we are going to continue and get back on the car. Nikki would like to know if the snake is a colibrid. Wow, Nikki, I don't know if I even know what a colibrid is, I'm afraid. So I couldn't tell you. But I will definitely make a note of that and have a look up later, unless one of the viewers can comment and tell me what they think. Is a spotted bush snake a colibrid? Good question. Well, we are going to continue on, and we are going to go over to my very good friend Scotty D, who's on his feet. His boots are tied, his laces are ready for the morning, and he is out with Rexon on bushwalk.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Bushwalk. I'm very, very excited to have you guys with us. As you can see, I have a bodyguard behind me. His name is Rexon, and with all the paparazzi we've been getting following us as Safari Live grows, it's just got to that point of the game. So he'll be keeping an eye on our safety and make sure that nobody or nothing pesters us. And my name is Scott. I'm teamed up with Senzo on camera, and it's a beautiful, beautiful morning. 21 degrees Celsius, 69 degrees Fahrenheit. Not too many clouds in the sky. I'm guessing it's not going to stay cool for very long. As soon as the sun pokes up, it's going to start heating up. But for now, great prospects for a very, very enjoyable morning on foot. Now, I'm not sure if you've got the update from Steve yet, but there was a report of a crowd of lions somewhere in and around Djuma late last night. So we're heading into that general area. They could have moved a long way since then. We're guessing they could be following a small herd of buffalo that were on the property yesterday. So that's our plan. We're going to head into that general direction, see if we can't have any luck finding them. Or possibly Hosana, a young male leopard who may have finished his duiker kill that he was snacking on yesterday evening. Both the lions and Hosana were kind of in a similar area, so those are our plans. So now, if we don't have any luck with them, we may do a long walk to our eastern boundary to see if we can find any sign of Tundi, a female leopard, and her cub, who were last seen in that area yesterday. So lots of good prospects, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the morning unfolds. Very exciting. Good stuff. Well, Taylor might be able to shed a little bit more light on the pride of lion that was seen somewhere on Djuma yesterday, and you're about to jump on board with her. So enjoy what she has in store for you.
Good morning, everybody, and it's a good morning for sure. It's not too hot, not too cold. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and we are on the move, obviously, searching for lions, is what everybody's been talking about. And behind the camera, I'm lucky, I've got David twice. Yaha, well, maybe not so lucky for you, David, but anyways. So last night I bumped into the Nkuhuma Pride. How cool is that? Did not expect it, so that was quite nice. Now we just need to find out where they've gone, because I saw them quite a while ago. And we know that these big cats like to move around quite a bit. But thankfully, we've got Scott, who's going to be on, obviously you've already seen him, he's on foot. That helps a lot when it comes to tracking and trailing. So I'm going to go to where I sort of left them, which was around Pangolin Track, somewhere on there. And see where they've moved around. So I'm just going to make sure that I keep my eyes peeled. But there are lots and lots of tracks in the road. But I'm going to save them for Scotty, because I'm sure he probably wants to have a look at them, and when he hits Philemon's dip, he's going to be presented with a whole lot of lion tracks, so we'll let him have a look at them. And trying to think what else. I was surprised to see them. Obviously, Steve yesterday had some buffalo. Maybe that's what the Nkuhuma's after. So we'll all put a combined search in this morning to try and find those leons, but I was very excited to see them last night. I almost got out of the car. I just wanted to hug them. I was so happy to see the Nkuhumas again. I'm of course just joking. I would never jump out the car to hug a wild lion. That would be very silly. So also please don't do that. You should stay in your car. But I was excited. So yeah, we'll have a little look around. Right, I'm just going to make sure that the tracks haven't gone anywhere here. So as we're driving around the canine, you've asked this morning, why do lions often live in grassland areas? Well, lions and leopards, in fact, are highly adaptable, and they can really just adapt to their surrounding. So they're not necessarily just limited to grasslands. However, things like buffalo, of course, favor the grasslands because they are bulk grazers. So they go where their food goes. But again, they don't just have to eat buffalo. They can eat a number of different things. So if they go into the forest, then they can feed on things like kudus and bushbucks, or not forest, but the sort of more wooded areas. They can do a number of things. So the lions were laying here last night in the middle of the road. Let me show you. So you can see all of this. Hiss, you said you are in need of a lion's roar. It's been a while. I know, it's actually very quiet. It would be very nice, wouldn't it, this morning? So all of these grooves in the road, you can see from the lions. Some of them are even tail marks, those sort of long stripes over there. There's one tail, and if you go up just a little bit more, you can see where another tail was. Just over there. That's, yeah, exactly. So they were lying around here. Now we need to figure out, where did they go? Which way did they go? So I'm actually going to jump out. Yes, I'm going to jump out, in fact. Let's have a very quick squiz here. I didn't know what I was going to do for a minute. Okay, so lions laying on the ground. Which way did they go? Let's check up here to see there are a couple of tracks going this way. So now with tracking and things like that, I'm going to walk away a little bit from the car. Yeah, they've gone down here. Looks like they've gone down here, but because it's a big pride, sometimes they don't always all walk in a straight line. So let's have a look here too, just to make sure, just to rule out that we don't need to go towards Chelepan. Will it be moving around? No. So no lion tracks here at all. Fantastic. The only thing now is if they carry on going down Weaver's Nest. It's not a long way before we hit the boundary. Not for a lion. So we need to get on the move and hope that we're going to find them down this way. It'll be quite nice when we get plugged back in. Right. Maurice! I just knocked Maurice off. My bad. Sorry. Somebody you have not seen for quite some time is my dear friend. He still has not been in the wash though, but he's very excited to finally make his first trip to South Africa, and hopefully he'll see some of his cousins down here in the Sabi sand. But we're going to race down Weaver's Nest to see if we can find those lions. Let's go see if Steve has picked up on any more tracks.
Thank you, Taylor. I know you are super excited. I saw her last night after she'd seen the Nkuhumas, and she was bubbling at the seams. She's got quite a special affinity for lions, as we know, and jackal, and there's not too many that I've seen on Djuma. But we had some more tracks of them, but we've kind of come the other way, and we've picked up on their tracks sort of still moving that direction. So definitely the pride had some tracks of the little cub, one of those little guys like that. The light wasn't so great though, so I didn't stop to show you, but I know Taylor is on the heels of them, and we're going to come all the way around on the east and southern side to try and sort of find them. Nick's asked, I think you said, Tom, are male lions aggressive? Oh, Tom, you'd like to know, are male lions really aggressive to new cubs? Now, Tom, to understand this point quite clearly, it must be noted that male lions are not aggressive towards their own cubs. Male lions are aggressive to the cubs that are not fathered by themselves, and this needs maybe a little bit of a story in its own. Not all male lions will kill cubs. Okay, from a genetic point of view, if you work out the pride tenure that you'll get of a group of males, say 2, 3, 4, even 1 as a coalition group of males, on average in the Kruger National Park, they have a pride tenure of between 4 and 5 years. Okay, so now a male lion only really becomes in his prime from after 4. Okay, so now 4 years until he's prime, and he's probably going to die between 10 and 12. Okay, so pride tenure of 4 to 5 years from 4 means that he needs to breed quite soon after securing a pride to get his genes forward. But if a male lion, a group, moves into an area and those females have cubs that are not his, and he chases away the males and he doesn't kill those cubs, those females will not be reproductive for 2 years, depending on the age of the cubs. Okay, so now that's 4 years minus 2. He's only got 2 years of breeding potential in that pride. So what happens if a male lion comes into a pride, he finds females, he kills the cubs within 1 month? As sad as it might sound, within 1 month, those females are ready to breed. 1 month versus 2 years is a huge difference, and it must be stated again, not all male lions kill cubs, but if you consider the facts I've just put forward, if male lions do kill cubs, those males will have more cubs in the population than those that don't. So that trait that gets passed down from father to son will perpetuate in that lion sort of dynamic system. I hope that answers your question, but I have seen male lions kill cubs. I've also seen them not kill cubs. And a lot of the strategies that go about how the females breed, from the fact that it's induced ovulation, it means that she doesn't just ovulate. There has to be a certain number of copulations before she will fall pregnant. I think they work it out to be about 3,000 matings to produce a cub. The statistics there are very, very poor, but what that means is that the male himself, if he comes into a pride with maybe him and 2 brothers, 4 brothers, whatever it might be, coalition, and they mate with the females, and they keep going. They are not sure who is the father amongst them. So there's kind of uncertainty. The females will also go off and hide the cubs for a period of time, and then also females will come into estrus at the same time. So the males in the pride ideally think it's theirs, but if they come in anew, chase away males, if they don't kill those cubs, they are going to spend 2 years or so defending a pride whose genetics are not carrying their own. So I hope that answers your question. It is not always with all male lions, but there is a high proportion in the population. Nostridge would like to know a very interesting question. Have I ever seen a white lion? And I have indeed. In Hoedspruit, or should I say the Timbavati, there is a white lion breeding project. Timbavati, which is further north from where we are now, also a private reserve joined onto the Kruger National Park. The Timbavati is where the first white lions were recorded, and there's quite a nice history of them in the wilderness there. And at Singita in Lebombo in the Kruger Park, a cub was born into the population a few years ago, and there is a resident white lion in that pride. But next to Timbavati, there's a small place where they have been doing some white lion breeding, because these people believe, let's reintroduce the white lion into the population, because, well, I don't exactly know all of their means and wants, but if you see one of these animals, it is like seeing a white plastic bag in the bush over there. It stands out like you cannot believe, and the male has got a white mane. They don't survive naturally. They, as a cub, are so visible and so easily seen that they are actually not naturally supposed to do very well in the environment. And if they do get to an adult, to hunt for them is very difficult. So I have seen a few, but most of the ones I saw were at that breeding project itself. Okay, I hope that answers your question. We are going to continue on, and while we do so, I'm going to go back over to Scott. He's still on foot, and see what he has for you.
Yes, we are still on foot, and we are kind of essentially behind Taylor, because she's can obviously move faster than we can in the vehicle. But we are on the trail of the Inkuhuma Pride of Lion. Judging from the tracks, it looks like the entire pride. We can see one small track, probably the size of a kind of female leopard, and that is of the youngest cub, which I'm guessing is around kind of 6 months old, roughly. So all of them seem to be moving south down this road. And as Taylor mentioned a bit earlier, they could be trying to trail the herd of buffalo that Steve had yesterday afternoon. So, white lions, epic stuff. I've also been lucky enough to see them in the wild just once. Sadly, the two lioness that used to be alive in the Timbavati died at some course of last year. So the only remaining white lion, I believe, is on a concession called the Nwanetsi concession in the Kruger National Park, which is kind of east of a major rest camp there called Satara, and along the Mozambican boundary. And interestingly, there's a young male. He's probably, maybe around 2 years, just over that in age. And he's got quite a few brothers, which also bodes well for his future, because they can all peel off together and start a coalition. And wouldn't it be absolutely phenomenal to see a fully grown white lion male in the wilderness? So he's the only one that's currently surviving. I'm not too sure what happened to the other two lioness. They were both fully grown and kind of established and set up in the Timbavati. Clifford, no, there is no such thing as a black lion, not that I'm aware of. You don't get melanistic versions of them, which is interesting, because leopards, for example, you get both a melanistic and a leucistic version. I'm not sure if you get leucistic jaguars, but you definitely get melanistic jaguars. So, yeah, a black lion would be a super, super intimidating beast to come across. Imagine seeing a pitch black big male lion, or even a lioness. Quite a thought. Now, I'm hoping these lions haven't gone too far. Interestingly, where we are here, there's some tracks going up and down, but the general movement is in a southerly direction. Let me just show you here quickly. Here, you can see 2 tracks heading back up the road, and if I come and look over here, it's not the best one, but this track over here is going down the road. So up and down, backwards, forwards. Deanna, you'd like to know if it's not dangerous to be on foot with lions? Well, yes, it's more dangerous than being in a vehicle, but as long as you kind of take the necessary precautions, they shouldn't give you a hard time. Wild animals are not nearly as prone to physical confrontation as we are as a species. So 9 times out of 10, they'll vocalize, they'll talk to you, they'll give you a growl, they'll warn you. They may even give you a mock charge when they're like, guys, I mean business. And they'll come growling out and stop, jam on brakes, just to let you know that they are serious. This pride of lion that we're following very seldom actually do that. They do, from time to time, give us what we guides like to say a rev, or a little bit of a mock charge. But it's never happened to me here, and 9 times out of 10 when we find them on foot, they just run off. So it gives you a good example of, how wild animals will generally tend away from violence, unlike us. And that's probably because they don't have medical aids and doctors that can help them if they do get into trouble, whereas we do. Good stuff. Well, like I said, Taylor's probably ahead of us. I'm hoping she's still on the trail of these lions. And why don't you jump on board with her to get a quick update?
We are still, well, actually, no, we're not on the trail at the moment. That was a stick that I saw that caught my attention. So basically, I'm just doing a couple of loops and laps to figure out where exactly these lions have gone. Their tracks go off the road on Weaver's Nest. Now, obviously, we had those buffalo. Where were they yesterday? They were on Elephant Cock, sort of towards Twin Dams side. And I walked all the way down Weaver's Nest last night. Well, both David and I walked down, and there were no buffalo tracks. There were no buffalo on there. So they rested there. So I don't know what those lions have done. Their tracks go towards the buffalo. Whether those buffalo got up and ran, I'm also not exactly sure. We're just trying to figure it out. But I've just come back, going back towards Leopard to make sure that they didn't do a sneaky and end up crossing south along here. So I'm looking for some more tracks this side. If I haven't got this side, this means that they've gone towards Treehouse Dam side. So this is the idea behind it. Let's quickly have a look here. Sorry everybody, I do want to just make sure that I focus, because it's a hard one at the moment when you're trying to spot with your eyes as well as look on the ground and follow tracks and pick up any tracks. Okay, so we haven't got any lion tracks coming here. So I'm going to turn around, and then I think we're going to go straight down Twin Dams and you can just check the boundary. Like I said, these roads come up and catch you so quickly. So if we can do them fairly quickly, you can imagine how fast the lions can travel in just a short amount of time. And if those buffalo were running away and they ran across the boundary, they probably would have followed them, because there isn't very much else for the lions to eat at the moment. Yeah, there's the kudu here and there. There's the odd bushbuck and yala, few waterbuck every now and then. But for a pride like the Nkuhumas, they need to be taking down something as large as a buffalo. Even with all those youngsters now that are, they must be over 2, at least almost 2 years old now. They're going to devour that thing very quickly. Remember what happened with you guys didn't see it, but I think we maybe did a highlight on it with the olololos that took down that zebra, and those cubs aren't anywhere near as old as the Nguma cubs, and they devoured that thing. So even a buffalo might keep them going for just a little bit. So we'll go down, and the nice thing now is that we've just checked this section for tracks. So I'm not going to look for tracks anymore. Now I'm going to focus on scanning and seeing if I can spot anything through the bushes. So the only problem is that you can literally have your nose to the ground following all the footprints, and you could drive past lions that are maybe just 10 meters off the road. Trust me, I've done it many times. David and I have actually done it once where they were just on the road, just off the road. We were not we were concentrating on following footprints, and we missed the lions completely. And I went, hey, those tracks go back that way. Maybe we should also turn back. Drove 20 meters, and there all the Nkuhumas were. This was a while ago. This was a long time ago, in fact. Oh, I also picked up on Hosana's tracks. I'm pretty certain that they're Hosana's. He was going up and down elephant cocks. So he might be around too, so that's good. And then I heard that Tumba is on Chitwa. How exciting. So some information wanting to find Tumba. If while we scratch around this side, then, well, it might be a cool place to go. Anyways, we'll carry on and keep searching. Hopefully we'll have some lions for you soon. Let's go see where Steve is on Djuma.
Thank you very much, Taylor. I hope you come right with those lions there. I don't think they're going to be too far away. And I think following the buffalo trail will get us into the right sort of area. Couldn't help myself but to stop for another sunrise in the Kruger Park. It is a beautiful morning and it bodes to be quite a warm day. When I say quite, I'm saying probably high 30s in the Celsius and probably low 90s in the Fahrenheit. But nothing like our January temperatures. Beautiful. Whatever cold front was arriving yesterday seems to have passed. Shana, you would like to know if white lions are albino, and no, they are not. Albinos have no pigment, and they would be pink in the eye, whereas white lions, it's just a genetic sort of form, or like a morph in a way. I'm trying to think of the right term for it right now, but it's just a allele, or a genetic trait. It's a recessive, it's not a dominant gene at all. That's why it has never done very well. The whiteness of the lion has not allowed that gene to do very well. When we talk about male lions killing cubs, it's very rare that you get a male white lion, and if you do get one, they don't breed, or there hasn't been much of it. So that gene of theirs is very, very weak in the population, and that is how these genes go forward, is if you have an individual with a dominant sort of gene, it will move forward in the population. So it's just an extra gene, but a different color form, but not a dominant one at all. Probably quite similar to the king cheetah in the cheetah populations. It's not a dominant form, but as sad as it might sound, the purpose of people trying to perpetuate the white lion gene is probably a lot to do with hunting rather than actual tourism. But that is a story for another day. As the sun is beating down on the African wilderness, we are going to be making our way towards where Taylor is to give her a hand with the tracks, because I know, not just Taylor and myself, you would also like to see some lions this morning. And Anne would like to know, are there not many cheetah in the Sabi sands? And the habitat in this area, Djuma specifically, is very dense. Cheetah are very susceptible to competition from lions and leopards, and this area boasts a really good population of leopard, and lion are moving through at quite regular intervals. On our eastern side into an area called Cheetah Plains, or Elephant Plains, Cheetah cut line, sort of to the east of us, the vegetation is a lot more open. I'm pretty sure there's been a little bit more influence by habitat managers there to open up the landscape, and that makes for much better population or habitat for cheetah. As we have seen up in the Mara, they like to be able to see in a distance long far away, because lions and leopards are prone to sneaking up on them and dispatching them. As sad as that might sound, the weaker of the species is always dominated by the stronger, and the cheetah are not a very strong cat. They need to be able to see and then run away from their quarry or from their pursuers, but as you can see here, it is very dense. Tristan did have a cheetah a little bit further east from us now. We'll probably get there at Treehouse Dam about a month and a half ago. He was very surprised. It just happened to materialize there at the dam. I'm sure some of the viewers out there will have seen. Okay, we're going to go over to Scott, who is listening and hearing something in the bush.
We just got the fright of our lives, everyone. We just heard buffalo stampeding. Bro, bro, bro. They're thundering hooves not too far ahead of us. And now we've got into an area where we can't disappear into this riverbed and seek shelter if they do in fact stampede away from the lion that I'm guessing are chasing them. But we cannot resist trying to sneak a little bit closer and work out what's going on. Imagine if we can film a lion taking down a buffalo on foot. That will probably be a first. And it's gone quiet for now, but something is happening up ahead of us here, and I'm hugely confident that it is in fact the lions giving the buffalo a hard time. It sounded like somewhere slightly north of Savage's track and possibly north of Treehouse Dam that we heard the audio. So if Nikki can just relay that to Taylor so she knows exactly where we had this noise coming from. When we heard the noise initially, we stopped, looked at one another, and all ran, because a stampeding herd of buffalo is not something you want to get caught between, and we're in quite an open area. So we ran towards a big fallen down log, which would have provided us a nice natural barrier. Now, in the event that something does happen, we need to all stand our ground and stick together. That's you included, so be ready for that. I can hear buffalo. Up ahead, still probably a couple of 100 meters. They're not stampeding anymore. What I can also hear is Taylor dropping the clutch. Sounds like an Indy 500 is happening nearby, but I don't blame her. I would be doing the same thing, because this is excellent opportunity to get you guys into pole position for some cool action. I've just seen her across the dam wall. She can maybe stop there and listen and have a look, because the audio is somewhere nearby to her there. There's also a nice big termite mound over here that's going to help us get a good vantage point, I'm hoping. But let's send you across to Taylor, and I'm confident she's going to find these buffalo and what's going on shortly.
Right, so as Scotty says, we dropped the clutch pretty quickly. This was our plan to come around. I went from, basically, I was on Gowrie Main heading towards Shibamo to come up this way. We've got the buffalo. They are just off to the right. They're very unhappy. And the dust has not even settled yet. I can't hear anybody distressing other than just unhappy sounds of buffalo, which is, well, totally acceptable. So it all seems relatively calm and peaceful here, in the sense that I can't see a lion on the back of the buffalo. So what we're going to do now is, let's go up this way. Let's carry on. I had the lion tracks are all walking basically on the southwestern road that runs back towards Shibamo. So let's have a quick squiz. We should pick up on those lions. So maybe they went all the way around and then came back and have chased them from this corner. They're all looking in here. Now, Robin, you're wondering if I thought that the lions sensed that there was a baby buffalo. Oh yeah, most certainly. They probably would have seen them. But I don't think they're going to be going for a baby buffalo. Like we were saying, it's a big prize. They need a little bit more than just a few scraps. And, well, if they feast upon a baby buffalo, they might, if they're lucky, they might get a mouthful. Just trying to see what's going on here. And figure out. I just want to check a little bit further away, because those buffalo could have come stampeding in from anywhere. So if there's nothing here, then we'll probably jump off road and go back to those buffalo and then sort of just do a big loop around them. Where have you gone, lions? But I have told you awesome stories of buffalo, huge herds of buffalo, hundreds of them stampeding because a dake and steenbok or something small came charging out of the bushes, which is also quite funny. So I know that they're spook likely, but we've had all those lion tracks around here, so they might be around here. Now, I've got a very noisy car, so it makes it quite difficult for me to hear what's going on. Scott's on foot. His feet don't make as much of a noise. Let's go see if he's heard anything else.
everything seems to have calmed down for now. We can still hear the odd bellow from the buffalo, and we're just trying to work out where the lions could actually be. Maybe they've managed to pull one down already. Maybe they've missed. I'm guessing that they've missed. But whether they're north of the buffalo, south of the buffalo, west of the buffalo is very tricky to know. And we are quite concerned about our own safety here. So Senzo and I have perched ourselves up on a nice termite mound where if the buffalo do stampede past us, we'll be safe here. But I am also desperate to actually move away and see if in fact we can't work out where these lions are. You'll probably find the lions have had a very, very busy night chasing these buffalo on multiple attempts, and they might be catching their breath after multiple hunts. Nina, you'd like to know why we're seeing so many buffalo at this time of the year? Well, it's because we've got increased food for them, especially over the last couple of weeks. There's been a lot of rain, so lots of good food here. And it's not uncommon for buffalo herds to come and go, and they're not always with us here on Djuma. Okay, Rexon's mentioning that we should go up ahead. Rexon's our security detail, and we're gonna catch up with him now. Rather than all three of us going up into that dangerous situation, we left Rexon, who's a little bit more mobile than poor old Senzo, who's got a big backpack on. Okay, well, exciting stuff. I'm sure we're going to get to the bottom of what's going on here shortly, so don't go anywhere, but, as in, don't stop watching the safari, but for now, I'm going to send you across to Steve.
Exciting indeed, Scotty D. There's nothing quite like the sound of buffalo stampeding, especially when you're on foot. Even in a vehicle, that can be quite a daunting topic or a feeling, but I absolutely love having attitude, so much sort of just attitude. We've got some other guests. Yeah, good morning. Good morning. How are we? Good, thanks. Yeah, good, thanks, eh? Just got Sheldon there from Chitwa. He looks like he's also up and about looking for these unkuhumas. And what a marvelous morning it is. So, buffalo on foot, I think, is probably one of the things most people are most terrified of. But for me, I find them very, very fun. Yesterday we had them, and just as we skipped between myself and Taylor, the buffalo fleed as they do. At the slightest disturbance, a breeding herd tends to run away. So they have got a really interesting behavior, and they do generally follow the behavior guidelines of the book, and they will often come closer to investigate. And when they come running towards you with their nose in the air, it can be quite daunting. Can make you think of all sorts of terrible things that might happen, but as soon as they get your smell, they turn and run away. That moment when a herd is running towards you can be quite a frightening one, and even with lots of training and lots of experience, the heart still rushes away, still rushes and rushes, and it is always very exciting. I've spent lots of time with large herds of buffalo up in the north of the Kruger. And I believe we're going to be going over to Taylor, who has found what I think is the little prince.
We have found the little prince, and he's panting. Our dear friend Hosana, looking at the buffalo. Now, one of many things could have happened here. The lions could have indeed been chasing the buffalo around. Hosana could have got a fright and ran up to the termite mound for safety, or he was trying to catch a baby buffalo. So now this is where the investigation starts, and we have to try and put this all together. How cool is that? That is so beautiful. Now, you won't believe it, but Scott and Rexon and Senzo were just on the other side of this termite mound, and I jumped off road, and something made me look back. And I was like, oh, there's a leopard's tail. So that's quite interesting, isn't it? Now, we know that Hosana, I don't know if it was confirmed, he did kill a baby buffalo, if I'm not mistaken. I remember reading something about that. Ah, okay. I'm just listening again. So Scott has just said he's got some lion tracks west of where I am. So they must be in here too. So I don't now know what's happened. Hosana? What's happened, big boy? Did you get a fright? He's got a big belly, but we know he was finishing off that daycare yesterday. So, again, he's staring in the distance. It could be because he was stampeded by the buffalo. Perhaps he was slinking through the grass while the lions were chasing the buffalo. And he thought, oh my goodness, better get up and out of here. Don't want to be trampled by who's. Also don't want to be caught by a lion, because they won't want to have anything to do with him. Well, in a good way. And this is really amazing. It's all gone very quiet and eerie in the bush, other than just the few birds chirping as well. But he's a little bit stressed, this leopard, as you can see, not with us. And he's looking, so I'm trying to see where he's looking. So see where those lions are. They could also just pop out at any minute. Okay, big boy, I feel like you're okay now. This actually used to be Shongile's favorite termite mound. I can't tell you how many pictures I have of her up here. Just sitting up here, which is quite cool. Oh, he's watching Rexon now. You see that? How he's seen the bushwalk team? He's just keeping an eye on them. But not too perturbed at all. See? Completely turning his head away from them. I don't mind, Nikki. I suppose we can have as many cars as we need to in the area. You can decide. I really don't mind. Very cool to find Hosana again. Oh, big yawn. Got lovely teeth, and he's still got all of them. I'm also just listening till behind me the buffalo seems to be grazing now, just to make sure if I do hear anything. And swivel quickly in my chair to try and see with my eyes. But he's a beautiful cat. Ah, my goodness, Treehouse Dam. It's all happening here, isn't it? All happening here. Still just watching the bushwalk team every now and then. Making sure they don't sneak up to him, which of course they won't be doing because we've got him now. Also listening to see if there are going to be any alarm calls from birds, pointing us in the right direction of the lions. But nothing just yet. Hey, even starting to get a little dewlap. Can you see that? Just starting. Now, he's looking so lovely at the moment, Hosana. He's young, he's fit, so healthy, catching all sorts of things. And now he just needs to make sure he keeps away from those lions, which could be in the area, somewhere around here. See, it's so hard with the grass being tall, and it is quite tall. Just listening again. Buffalo. One buffalo is making a very buffalo sound. No. It's important when you are, of course, searching for these animals that you sit as quietly as possible and listen, especially if you want to have any chance of finding out where those lions are. Like I said, from those alarm calls to many different things. That bulging belly. Okay, well, we're definitely going to sit with Hosana for a little bit longer, and I'll keep an ear and an eye out if any bigger cats come walking on by. Scott's on the other side of Treehouse Dam, and it seems as though he's got some more tracks.
Okay, everyone. Well, isn't this a crazy morning? Expecting to find lion, and we find a leopard. Now, we can actually see the buffalo. They've calmed down. They're just through the gap over there. Taylor's further to the right of them. No visual of her from where we are. So she's sitting with Hosana there. And I'm not too sure what's happened here. I mean, maybe the lions have already been successful in catching one of these buffalo that they're feeding on somewhere. I'm not convinced that is the case. But we need to keep moving now. And keep trying to work out where these lions are. Now, we had lion tracks very, very close to Hosana on the trail of these buffalo. Apparently there was some more tracks seen further in the direction that we're heading, so that's where we're going now. We also just need to kind of loop around the buffalo and Taylor with her sighting. So we're going to do a big loop through this area and hopefully find some clues as to what is happening. Now, like I said earlier, lions can have multiple attempts following a herd of buffalo for many days before they even succeed. So that may well be the case. Maybe the lions have done enough hunting for last night, they're tired, and they could just be sleeping somewhere nearby with the plans of resuming their hunt a little bit later. Keeping my eyes peeled on the ground here to not miss any tracks. Brian, you'd like to know if I prefer driving or going on bushwalk. Well, depends on where I am. But in the Sabi sands, the kind of ideal for me would be a morning bushwalk and an evening drive. So the best of both worlds. I don't particularly like walking in the afternoon. You start when it's very hot. And here's a lion track here going that way. So kind of back on their trail for the time being. So yeah, Brian, I much prefer the morning. There's a kind of clean slate, a fresh start. A lot of the predators move at night, so you're not sure what tracks or signs you're going to bump into along the way. But, you know, if we're in a location like the Masai Mara, walking is just simply not an option. So it all depends on where we are. Yeah, it looks like the whole pride here is heading in a westerly direction, away from these buffalo. But like I said, there could have been lots of backwards, forwards, who knows if the buffalo are being chased up and down. My only concern is that we are heading close to our southern and western boundary, so there is a chance that these lions may have already dodged us. Very good, we're going to stick on these nice fresh tracks and send you across to Taylor with Hosana.
Oh, we are lucky this morning. I've definitely been very, very lucky with finding so many leopards since I've been back. The bush must know I was really missing them. Although I was fortunate. Sorry, I'm just shuffling in my seat, everybody. I did get to see a couple of leopards while I was in the Mara. But I don't know. It just wasn't the same as spending time with our leopards like Hosana, like Tandi, or, well, everybody, Tingana. I don't know, I suppose we all have a very special connection. And as soon as we start seeing more leopards in the Mara, we'll get those emotions too. Still panting, but not quite as much now. But still keeping an eye out. Now, we were talking about his dewlap earlier, and it's a bit difficult to see now, but you can just see how sort of round his neck is. And Shamson, you were actually wondering at what age does a dewlap typically come in with a leopard? Well, Shamson, sometimes male leopards don't get a dewlap, so it's not with all of them. I think it tends to be the exceptionally large ones. So when you look at leopards like Tingana, when you look at the Anderson male, when Mbavalo is still around. And the reason why I say this is if any of you search for pictures of a leopard named Maxabene, Maxabene, he's a leopard down in the southern Sabi sands, and he doesn't have a dewlap at all, and he must be about 8 or 9 now. He's not a young leopard at all, maybe even a little bit older than that, and he doesn't show any signs of one at all. Even when he was full and fat with a meal, I never saw one. But you can quite clearly see with Hosana that he's starting to develop one. So I suppose as young as a year and a half to 2 years, they might start showing signs of one if he's going to be exceptionally big. And Hosana has done really, really well for himself, considering all the things that he has theoretically been through. Obviously, the disappearance of his mother at an age where he should still be relying on her. I mean, they were catching lots of other things in between while Kruger was still around, but to get a substantial meal, he was still waiting for mom to bring it home. So the fact that he's just gone off and taken life by the horns and showed all the other animals out here that nothing's going to stop him and nothing's going to basically prevent him from being a big, strong leopard. That's exactly what he's done. So in my opinion, I don't think all leopards get dewlaps. So he's twisting his ears, just still listening behind him. Nina, you've asked this morning if leopards are a little bit unsure without their mums around. Well, at a young age, yes, because they're still relying on them. But at the age that Hosana is at now, no. He'll be fine and doesn't need to rely on mom. I mean, he's doing very well, catching all sorts of creatures to eat. But from when they, well, I suppose they first arrive in the world, right through till a year and a half, 18 months, they definitely do feel a little bit safer when mom's around. But remember, they're also starting to get their independence too, so they're not afraid to venture off and go and do their own thing. You can see how his behavior just changes. Ears pricking. He's still, from what I can see, he's still just watching buffalo. I can't see any lions moving around. Just making sure. Now, okay, Maximus, I'm not sure if you were watching the sunset safari yesterday, but I was on bushwalk, and the reason why we're going to talk about this is because you asked if isn't it dangerous to approach a leopard on foot. Well, no, not really at all. If you can do it correctly and the animal is relaxed, then you're probably going to be okay. And Maximus, we actually found Hosana on foot yesterday, and he was eating. Now, when you are learning about doing walks new to your trails guide, all these different types of things, they sort of give you some situations you should try not get yourself into. And you can imagine if you were to walk up to an animal that was on a kill, that was feasting, they're going to be quite protective over that. And Hosana didn't mind us at all. We were quite high up. We did try and keep our distance as much as we could, and we didn't stay for very long. We don't want to make him feel uncomfortable. So we walked in, we stopped eating, he looked at us, didn't growl, didn't even put his ears flat back, or nothing. Completely relaxed. And it may be about a minute or so, he then put his head down and started eating, which I've never done. I've never seen that before. That was the first time I think I've ever had a leopard so relaxed on a kill like that and not bothered by us, and then carried on eating, which is unheard of. I mean, we were so lucky. But that's also just because this leopard has seen people on foot from a very young age, and we do bushwalks all the time, so we're constantly bumping into things. So he's become habituated to us. We're not going to be able to walk over and scratch him between the ears, I promise you that. But it just does allow for us to have these relatively close encounters with, for instance, Hosana. Not all the leopards are going to be like him. His mother was like that. I can't remember what Shongile was like on foot, but when she was young with mom, she was also fine. But once Kruger moved on, I don't know if I ever encountered her on foot. So I suppose they also get those traits from their mother. And I think, yes, I do remember that. Thanks, Nikki. I think it was James. He had an incredible sighting with Shongile on foot, where she was also quite relaxed. She may have gone up into the tree, but was just watching. So I suppose they've taken after their mother. They were with their mom when we were doing walks, and we'd bump into the three of them, and she didn't really care less. I mean, I'll never forget the day I got such a fright. We were walking, and I think we heard some squirrels alarming near Inga's, in fact, which is another a set of accommodation that we go and stay at, and well, here in Djuma. And basically what happened, we walked towards this marula tree. The grass is very, very tall, just above knee height. And guess what? Guess who poked her head up only when we were about maybe between 10 and 15 meters away from her? Karula, who may remember this. We did it live. And we all stopped dead in our tracks. Herbie was too afraid to breathe because we were like, this is so close to be on foot with a leopard. And she looked at us. Also, no change in her behavior, and she actually put her head down and went back to sleep. We couldn't see her anymore, so we slowly, as you can imagine, got out of that area and back to a safe distance, which was quite cool. So it seems to be in the royal blood. Tandy I haven't experienced on foot, but I've heard that she's given a couple of people a few revs here and there. Whether it be she had food, whether she just doesn't like people on foot, or maybe she had a cub nearby, I'm not really sure, but it could be a number of things. Tingana runs away. He sees, even gets an inkling that there's a person on foot nearby, and he's gone. For such a big cat, he is a little bit of a scaredy cat, but it's good that they be wary of us. We don't want them to get too used to us, so that's why we try not push the boundaries too much. And we're very, very, very lucky to have been able to get ourselves into a situation like that was all so positive. Right, it seems as though Steve is doing the boundary patrol, perhaps checking that the Unkuhumas haven't crossed out. Let's go hope and see that they are still on Djuma.
Now, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We are on our sort of Gowrie main cut line, and the tracks of the Pride have come down, and they are kind of up and down. Scott and Rex have actually just joined us as well. They're on the trail there. We've got a male lion track that's come down the road, and then it's come back again, and I don't seem to have anything on my left-hand side. Nothing seems to be crossing the side, which is, we can hope that they were coming down and hunting and then moving back again. As I say, Scott and Rex have just gone that side of us there, so they're checking any potential tracks that have possibly crossed south away from Djuma, but at the moment it's very uncertain. It's quite a busy road this, so we get quite a few people driving up and down here in the morning, which is what makes it tricky. And the tracks that we do have are just on the side there of a male, at least one male, seems like a male anyway, in that sand, but then nothing crossing this way, which would seem the most evident sort of pathway to be going on. But we are going to continue on. We've already driven all the way around there and didn't get anything, so I'm assuming that the lions are probably inside here. So while I'm going to continue here, we're going to go straight over to my friend Scott, who's walking up the road there, and see what update he has for you there.
Okay, well, like Steve said, the tracks were up and down, but they're definitely continuing in their general kind of direction of movements, which has been south and west. So the tracks are on the road now. Steve's 100 meters behind us, and all we can hope for is that they bend off this road we're walking on to the right, back onto Djuma. If they go to the left, well, that's the end of the treasure hunt for us. But there's still hope. And another thing, like Steve said, is this is quite a busy road that guides use to access various areas of traverse. So one or two vehicles have driven along here, but it's still easy for us to tell where the lions peel off, as and when they do. No. Oh no, still going. Peter Viper, you'd like to know what kind of lions' main plan is when they come across leopards. Do they hunt them or chase them? Do they try and kill them? Do they eat them? Well, they definitely do try and catch and kill them. Leopards are very quick, though, and have the ability of climbing trees very well, so it's not easy for a lion to catch a leopard, but if a lion does, they will kill it, and sometimes they'll feed on it, sometimes they won't. A lot of the textbooks kind of suggest that when predators kill other predators for competition, they don't actually feed on them, but it's quite the contrary. I've seen a number of different predators feeding on one another once they've been killed. It's the same with leopard and cheetah, cheetah being ranked below leopard and lion, and I've seen an incredible photograph of a leopard with a cheetah kill up in a tree. Cheetah dangling over one branch, impala dangling over the other. And what had happened is that the cheetah actually made the impala kill. Leopard was obviously nearby, came in, sniped the cheetah while it was feeding, and put both of them up a tree and fed on both of them. So it is tough out here, and there's no mercy between the predators if they get a hold of one another. Okay, well, nice morning march. Heart is racing. What a great way to start the day. It's not even 6:30 here, and we've got a great start to the day. Yes, Michelle, I am a little bit out of breath. It's probably because I have to talk so much to you guys that I actually don't have time to breathe. It's something that I found tricky with the bushwalk. I found myself running out of air because I haven't taken a breath. Okay, very good. We're going to stay on the trail of these lions. Let me just show you one last track here. Heading straight down the road, and that is where we are going to be going to. You are going to be going back to Taylor, I think.
Right, so Hosana has come down. Ooh, hello. He's come down the termite mound, obviously. The reason I went, ooh, hello, is because he dropped his body posture slightly. I don't know if he's going to try and hide away from the buffalo. Maybe he's going to try and catch a buffalo calf. Who knows? Let's see, this could get quite fun. He's going straight towards the buffalo. Hey, big boy, are you feeling brave today? Now, when any animal hunts, it's always exceptionally dangerous for the predator too. And Rosinda, you've just wondered that if he is watching for a buffalo calf. Well, he's always looking for his next meal. Remember, leopards cache their meals, so what they can do is they can catch more than one thing and stash them up in trees and go back for them a little bit later. So I don't really know what he's going to do. I don't know if the buffalo have seen him just yet, but he's heading in their direction. Now, I don't want to go charging off in there. And the reason why is because those buffalo have obviously been chased by something, so they're a little bit on the nervous side. And I don't want to go in there and then disturb these buffalo if they're going to be scared of my vehicle. So we'll just have to wait and see. And I just want to also suss it out to see if there's another spot that we can have a look and see what's going on, because I have a feeling that if I do go too far in, the buffalo might move away from my car and I could be interfering. So you've always got to be careful, always edge on the side of caution, rather sit a little bit further back than necessarily going and sitting on top of the animals. We're lucky we can zoom on him, but I can reposition just a little bit here so we can get a better view of Hosana. All I have to do is just pull off the road just slightly. So we'll do that. We'll just sit like this for now. He doesn't look like he's going for anything just yet. He's just having a look around. Now, Zoom, you're wondering if the leopards make a roaring sound like the lions do. And no, not like a big lion roar. So what leopards do is they we call it soaring. They make this very rasping sound. I'm not going to do it for you now though, because you can imagine Hosana will probably be like, well, hey, what was that? Also, don't want to be making noises if there's prey is potentially in front of him. So yeah, they chuff. Yesterday morning we were quite lucky. We got to see Tundi chuffing, going chuff, 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 chuff. I don't know how to make that sound, but it's something along those lines. Is that a buffalo or is it a bird? What I'm going to do is I need to check with my binoculars. I think it might be a buffalo. Having a look around to see what's actually going on. No, that's a bird. Sorry, David, I'm trying to figure out what's going to be our best position, because here I feel like if he goes, we're going to miss the action. Let's go around. So we're going to stay on the road. Like I said, he doesn't look like he's up to anything just yet. The buffalo is still quite far, but I feel like we might get another gap just around the corner and we can look in. I'd rather be a little bit ahead of him running towards us than get stuck right behind him and then miss everything. But again, we need to try and be respectful of the animals. That's the most important thing. See if there's a way through here. It might be a nice open pathway. I think so. Oh, the buffalo. Some of the buffalo have sat down. Now, Trish, you've asked, so I'm just focusing, so I promise I'll look back now. Can you see him through there? Sorry, Trish, I'll actually get to your question in a moment. Not yet, eh? There's buffalo in front of us that are just sitting. I'm just trying to see where Hosana is. He was just through this gap here. There he is. Do you see him there? Where's he going? He's somewhere in there. Oh, he's laying flat. But he's just pretending in the grass. So, sorry, Trish, you're wondering how old is this beautiful male leopard? Hosana is just over 2 years old now. I think 2 years and a month. Or almost a month. So, he's still quite young. He's doing exceptionally well. The fact that he sometimes has buffalo on his menu is pretty spectacular for such a young cat. I think he is going to be a great leopard, and I'm very excited to watch him grow. But remember, life is very dangerous for him. He has to be careful. There's lots of other male leopards in the area, especially with Hukumuri around. I don't think he's going to show him the sort of the same calmness as Tingana does. He's watching. I don't see any buffalo calves around here. They'll just see fully grown buffalo, and he's not going to be able to take down a fully grown buffalo. So I think he's just having a little look to see if there are any, maybe some youngsters around here. Now, for those of you who have never seen lions take down a buffalo, especially a big herd, when they do grab one and the herd is still close by, obviously that buffalo is going to distress. He's going to call out for help. And buffalo have a great relationship with one another. They're very social creatures. We've seen herds of buffalo come back and tear into lion prides and successfully chase the lions off. If Hosana grabs a baby buffalo, I don't know if he's going to be able to suffocate it or drag it without the herd coming through and bothering him. So today, I feel like he might be biting off a bit more than he can chew. These buffalo are already agitated. They've already had one scare. Like I said, we don't know if it's the lions that chase them around. We don't know if it's Hosana that has already chased them around and he's going to try again. But like I said, in my immediate area, there's no young calves. There's no buffalo here that he can take down. Maybe further in the middle of the herd, because those buffalo, like we said, they're on high alert at the moment. Some of them have settled down, but those youngsters may have moved to the middle. And I can see every now and then some big bulls about, and they're there for security. So I think he's getting a little bit too excited. And he could, oh, sorry, Darby, my bad. I'm bobbing. He could stay in this area the entire morning, sussing out, waiting for the perfect opportunity. He's got a full belly. He doesn't need to eat immediately. So maybe he's going to play a different type of game. He's going to have a different strategy today. So I'm quite excited to see where this all goes. So we were talking about Hukumuri and how he is a new leopard in the area. He doesn't have any relations with Tandi, with her cub, with Hosana, and I said that Hosana needs to be careful, especially of this male. And Mobile Paddy, you were wondering, in terms of size, how does Hosana compare? Well, of course, Hukumuri is a big, strong male. He's a lot older than Hosana. I think no one really knows how old he is, but he looks I don't think he's more than about 7 years old, somewhere around there. Maybe 7, maybe even a little bit older than that. No, I don't think so. I think he's around 6 or 7, something like that. And then we've just said that Hosana is about 2. So, of course, Hukumuri is going to be on the larger size. I mean, Hosana hasn't even grown into his shoes yet. When you see his tracks on the ground, you can still see that it's a young male leopard that had walked there. His feet haven't quite filled out just yet. They'll get there, though. So Hukumuri is much bigger. He's got more experience. He'll definitely be more powerful than Hosana. But Hosana is young. He knows that he has to be careful. So he is still slinking around and, trying to lay low when he can. And hopefully that will play to his advantage. We'll just have to wait and see. He's still just looking. Hasn't shown any signs of stalking just yet. He's just observing. And leopards do that. They'll often sit and just watch and watch and watch. And eventually, I'm pretty sure, like how we work out their movements of animals and what pathways they like to do, it wouldn't surprise me if they did exactly the same thing. Well, there's very, very little movement in the grass and the leaves this morning. It's a very, very still morning, and which is why we could hear so well, which is why Scott was also hearing all the sounds so clearly, because there's no wind. And Karen, you're wondering if he is upwind of the buffalo. I'm uncertain. I don't have anything to test with me. I don't have my little eyedropper that I fill with ash and use on bushwalks. I didn't have that with me today. And I can't reach down and get any scrub hair dung. I know Scott likes to use scrub hair dung, which is great because it's so fine. The grass seeds with the little wind that we have today are going to do absolutely nothing. They're just going to fall straight to the ground. So I'm unsure what direction the wind is blowing in at the moment. Right, well, we're going to keep our eyes very closely on the scene, watching the buffalo, watching Hosana, and hopefully see what happens next. Let's go to Steve to see if he's found any more of the Nkuhuma tracks.
Thanks very much, Taylor. I'm so happy that you managed to find the little prince this morning, and we have got an update on the lions here. We've got the track of a little baby lion, who is very, very small if I put my hand there, and the Unkelhuma Pride has been walking all the way down the road. Scott and Rexon were following. This is the only track we've got at the moment is the baby lioness, or baby cub, which I think is a lioness. And the Pride has come down the road and they've gone south into Little Gowrie. So that is it for the lion saga this morning. We are going to continue on and try for some other activities. Maybe we'll go into the area where Tundi was last seen and see if we can get any luck there. So we have tried. We did big loops and we tried, but unfortunately we did not manage to find them. But the lions are just the way they are. They probably tried to hunt a buffalo or two last night. We're going to be passed by a vehicle in a moment, so I apologize for that. The lions were probably hunting in morning, probably hunting some buffalo last night, and then they missed because the buffalo are quite vigilant. And on missing, they would have continued walking. Anne would like to know how many acres in the Kruger National Park. The Kruger National Park is over 4 million acres. Probably more than that now, probably close to 5 million. 2.2 million hectares is the Kruger National Park itself, and there are a number of private reserves that are surrounding now, and the Kruger is also expanding into Mozambique with another 1.2 million. So we're probably looking at a total of probably about 6 or so million acres. Is that not an incredible amount of space? I think it is. But yet, it is not big enough. We need more areas. We need to conserve as much as we can, because as I said, wilderness is not a place, it is a way of life. Being out here, experiencing this is a privilege these days, but it actually is our birthright. To be able to spend time in the wilderness is our birthright. But we are giving it away. People are selling their souls to live in cities and selling their souls to lose wilderness, and these places are disappearing. And what's very interesting is that these areas in South Africa would not have been conservation areas if it wasn't for a little fly called the tsetse fly. And the tsetse fly causes sleeping sickness in cattle as well as in people, and all the European cattle and oxen that were brought into these areas, because pioneers that moved into these areas, there was no vehicles back in those days, and they were pulling ox wagons to get in, and it was because of the tsetse fly, which is synonymous with the Mopani bushveld. The tsetse fly killed all the ox wagons, and so people would have to have dragged all their equipment with them. And we know that man does not. And when the cattle and oxen and horses couldn't make the journey, they ended up just leaving the area as a wilderness, and only the bravest and strongest came through, and those were generally hunters or poachers. Back in the day, ivory hunting was an actual profession. It then turned into poaching a long time later. But because of those, that little bug that caused sickness in animals and people, these areas were left untouched for a very long time. And then a very wise man, Paul Kruger, one of the first presidents of the Transvaal Republic, he declared that because hunting started becoming a lot harder to do, people used to walk out of their houses in Johannesburg and Pretoria and hunt, and it slowly became further and further and further away. So he actually demarcated areas around here, including the Sabi Sands, as a sort of no hunting zone. And so years later, long after he'd left and escaped in exile to Europe, the Kruger National Park was declared a reserve in the 1920s. And since then, sleeping sickness and all that sort of stuff was dealt with. Remedies were created, but thankfully these reserves are still in place. So most of Botswana, a lot of Zimbabwe, is the same. Because of the tsetse fly, those areas have been conserved. Isn't that marvelous? Isn't that marvelous? So yes, but still not big enough. We need more and more space. We need to drop all the fences. And biosphere reserves are being created where we're incorporating communities, agriculture and wilderness to try and establish a livelihood that benefits all. And then also transfrontier parks are being established with Mozambique and Zimbabwe, but unfortunately there are some political issues behind that, and they're not running as smoothly as we would hope. Definitely one of the biggest discussions on the table is the enlargement of wilderness areas, and a lot more people are feeling the benefit of it from an intrinsic view. The spiritual side of being in nature is getting more and more emphasis. If you spend 10 minutes, if you spend 5 minutes a day in nature, it will do you wonderfully. If you are too busy to spend 5 minutes, you need to spend 10. So on that note, we're going to go over to Scott Dyson and see what interesting information he has to share.
Well, not a huge bunch of interesting information at the moment, but I do agree with Steve, and isn't it wonderful how we have been fortunate enough here in South Africa to expand the Kruger National Park into a bigger, better ecosystem. And there's a lot of countries that may be kind of against fences. I personally am not. I would rather put up a fence, bank something in the knowledge that, just like here in South Africa, you can you can basically change old farmlands or commercial farms back into natural wilderness. It's not easy, but rather secure a wilderness and then try and expand outwards. And I guess with a little bit of future planning, you can think about corridors to connect one wilderness with another. And a lot of more underdeveloped countries in Africa that haven't developed as quickly as South Africa still have those opportunities. But sadly, in my opinion, a lot of those countries aren't making the most of the fact that they haven't developed at the rate that we have. But we're on the up here in South Africa, so that's the good news. And it'll be interesting to see how much bigger the Kruger Park does get. It does stretch into Mozambique and Zimbabwe. So it really is an incredible wilderness destination that we're very lucky to be able to explore, even though we only explore that much of it. So, the elephants made us a bench, so I'm going to sit on it. Quite comfortable. It's got a bit of spring. It was a silver cluster leaf. And what's interesting with these trees is that elephants actually don't feed on them. So this would have just been used like a boxing bag. An elephant bull, I'm guessing maybe a youngster would have come past and flattened it. Not the best show of their strength though, because silver cluster leaves have got very soft branches, not nearly as dense and as hard as the bush willows. I mean, I can show you here now. This is a fairly thick branch, but it'll be very easy to snap like that. Very good. These are the little seed pods. Very pretty purple color. And you get a number of different kind of seed pods. This will be the first one I show you this morning of the silver cluster leaf. And it's designed to act like a boat. So if and when there's water, it will kind of float down the streams and be transported off to another area. Whereas the four-winged pods of the bush willows are designed to be transported by the wind. And here's some right here, so let me show you one of those quickly. And we'll send you off elsewhere. So there we have the four-winged pod of a bush willow. And you can imagine when the wind blows, it kind of just gently tumbles away. Wonderful. Okie dokie. So I'm hoping to find any sign of one or of two leopards that kind of frequent this area that we're walking. The Shidulu female, who we haven't seen for quite some time, at least not that I'm aware of, as well as the Hukumuri male, the new imposter that's pushing in to Djuma. So this is the area where we could get lucky with some tracks for them. And while we continue our search and hopefully get some great news for you, we are going to send you back, I think, to Taylor.
This leopard is a funny cat. He's now almost on top of the buffalo. I don't know what he's going to do. They're all sleeping now. The buffalo have all sat down, and there's big bulls, there's big cows. I still can't see a young calf that he's going after. But he's still quite far away. I don't know if he's actually going to do anything or if he's just having a little squiz. Maybe he's practicing his hiding technique. That could be another thing. Cool. I'm going to sit quietly now because we're going to do a very short action broadcast on how sneaky Hosana is being, but I do not think that he's going to try and catch one of these buffalo this morning. So here we go. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Sabi Sand in South Africa, the land of leopards. This is live, and this is happening right now on our sunrise safari on Safari Live. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and behind the camera bringing you all this wonderful wilderness is David, and we're very excited to be out here today with one of the coolest cats in Africa. Now, you're probably thinking, what on earth is that leopard doing with all those buffaloes around? Well, you could ask me, and if you'd like to ask me, all you have to do is comment in the comment section, and I'll get all those messages. Now, leopards have got the most amazing camouflage, and this young male, he's very young, he's only just over 2 years old, and he goes by the name of Hosana. I think he's practicing his stalking, or his stealth mode, should I rather say. His ears are pricked, but he hasn't really shown too many signs that he's spotted a target. And so I think he's just sort of observing and having a little look around. Now, he has killed a buffalo before, a baby buffalo, and which was quite impressive, especially for a cat of his age and his size. He's not anywhere near being fully grown just yet, but it's still pretty amazing that he's having a little look and so close to these buffalo. Hello, Sarah. It's great to have you on board. I look forward to any questions that you have, perhaps about buffalo or even about this leopard. Now, we often see lions taking on buffalo, especially the bigger prides. They need to catch something large to feed all those mouths. But a leopard is not going to be able to take on a fully grown buffalo, especially like that bull that we were just looking at. I mean, that fella probably weighs anywhere between 700 and 800 kilograms versus probably the 65. Yeah, I reckon Hosana is probably only at about maybe 55 to 60 kilograms right now. He's going to get a lot bigger than that, of course. So he's biting off a bit more than he can chew. But there he goes again, following after them. And John from Alaska, you've said hello. Hello to you too, all the way from South Africa. It's quite a far way away. Also, again, it's lovely to have you on board this live safari. Remember, you can interact with me. You can chat to me and ask me any questions. Tammy, I think you and I have got the sort of same approach. You said you're just sitting and giggling and watching as Hosana tries to approach these buffalo. Me too, because I know that when lions take on herds of buffalo and that buffalo distresses, if it has been caught, the whole family races on in and tries to chase the predator away. So you can imagine if one leopard on his own, if he does grab a young buffalo, I don't think this herd is going to have anything to do with it. They're going to come charging in. They are going to say, nope, that's unacceptable. We're going to chase you away, I'm afraid. But luckily for Hosana, he's exceptionally good at climbing trees, so it shouldn't be too difficult with all the trees around to get to a nice safe point. Now, Terry, you said that you're loving watching this on Nat Geo. That's fantastic. I'm so glad that you are enjoying this. And you're wondering if his family is nearby or if he's on his own. So leopards are solitary. The only time, well, theoretically, the only time you'll be seeing a leopard, more than one leopard, is either if it's a mating pair or if perhaps it's mom and cubs. However, the animals, well, they do their own thing. And in all the things we write about them, sometimes they like to make a fool of us, and they do something completely different. So you can see, I think Tristan, one of the other presenters on Safari Live, has seen 5 leopards together, from youngsters right through to adults, which is quite spectacular, something amazing. So I think these cats are a little bit more social than what we actually know. Remember, we're not always following them 24/7. These creatures are masters of camouflage and can lose you in a heartbeat, but disappearing in the thick grass, or maybe just sitting up at the top of a tree, hiding away in the foliage, and they become completely invisible. So it is quite tough to follow them and see their movements all the time. But he's still just watching and having a little look around. Now, Dallas, you've asked if I think that the buffalo are not aware of Hosana's presence. No, they're not aware at all. So they've already been chased around by something this morning, whether it was the lions, because their tracks are all in the area, or Hosana has already tried to catch a buffalo calf. We're not really sure because we didn't see it. We just saw all the dust and we could hear how upset the buffalo were. So no, they don't know he's there, because if they did know that there was a leopard nearby, they'd get up and they would chase him away. They don't want to have or be in the same area as him, because they know potentially that there is a chance that they could lose one of their calves. So you can see those buffalo just moving behind the bushes. But again, I'm not sure if he's going to go for the buffalo. I think he's just having a look. Maybe he's going to wait for somebody to get stuck and get left behind. So this could go on for ages. He's having a scratch now. Deanna, you said you're a little bit worried about Hosana. Don't worry. He's a big, strong leopard, and like I said, he's not going to do anything too silly. That's why I said I don't think he's actually looking to hunt a buffalo right now. I think he's just observing, having a little look around, testing his abilities. Because if something does happen, he'll very quickly get up the tree, and this buffalo can't come chasing up after him. So he has got an advantage. This is amazing. And the bush is so quiet and eerie this morning too. It's like, I don't even know how to explain it. It's pretty amazing though. But we're going to stay with Hosana and try and follow him for the morning to see if he does actually go on the prowl. So if you'd like to follow the story with us, all you have to do is head to Google, type in Safari Live, and you can find us. And then you can carry on watching, and maybe Steve will also find some lions for you too, the culprits who I think were actually chasing the buffalo around. But for myself and David, it's been absolutely amazing watching the bravery of this leopard, and I hope you enjoyed it too. But until next time, we'll see you all soon. Hello, everybody. Oh, quite cool. He's being interesting. He's just looking, creeping closer. It would be very funny if he ran on in and pounced on a sleeping, fully grown buffalo's back. Might see a bucking bronco. I think that would be something that most people have never seen in their lives. But Hosana's he's not a silly cat. He's not stupid. He's learned. I mean, he's been thrown out on his own, and he's made it this far. He's doing so well. So he's definitely learned a lot of life lessons along the way. And like I said, I think maybe his idea is that he's going to wait for a buffalo to sort of get left behind. Maybe the rest of the herd get up and start moving on. And one or two just, haven't quite finished their siesta. Perhaps it will be a female with a calf. Then he can make his move. But right now, I don't think he's going to be silly enough to charge on into that herd. But we're going to sit and wait and find out. Maybe I'll eat my words. I do that often. Scott was marching around. He was out of breath earlier. Let's go see if he's caught it.
We've got the moon between my fingers. And I can't remember who asked the question the other day about the full moon and when it rises, but basically after full moon, the moon will rise later in the evening and set later in the morning. And that's exactly why we're not seeing the bottom half of the moon now, because the sun's only shining on the top half of it. So that's that about the moon. Beautiful day. It is getting quite hot and sticky, and I decided to just come up and climb onto this termite castle in the hope that I'd be able to see something from here. But it is just incredible how thick it has got in such a short space of time. I'm actually quite astounded and relieved at the same time, because the Sabi Sands was looking quite bleak, to be honest, considering the summer is supposed to be the time of plenty. But things have kind of semi-recovered for the time being. Mac, you would like to know if it is a humid climate here. It is incredibly humid, especially in the summer months when there's more moisture around. But yes, it's a very hot and sticky environment. I mean, I'm sweating a little bit now. You see that? Might see a bit of a sheen there. So that's how sticky it is. Nikki, who's directing the show, said she didn't want to see that, but I thought I'd try and give you some proof as to how hot and sticky it is. So yes, very humid, which obviously exacerbates the temperatures. Usually, I mean, on a summer day it'll be anywhere from 30 degrees Celsius on hot days, anywhere up to 40 degrees Celsius, which is into the kind of hundreds Fahrenheit. Marvelous. This is a new road. I actually love it. It was never here when I was initially at Djuma. They built two new roads, this being one and another one off to the west. And it just definitely allows us to better explore certain areas with ease. It also means that if an animal was to work down here, they would stick to this pathway as opposed to just moving through the bush, which also makes our job easier finding them. I'm told quite a few of you are laughing at my sweaty forehead. I'm glad you're not crying like Nicola was. Ravinda, you'd like to know how much weight the cameramen carry on bushwalks, so what I'm going to do is show you the rig. I'm also going to show you Senzo's. Let me go this side. Okay, he's looking very fancy. He's got a nice blue jersey on. So there's all the equipment there. This over here is probably the heaviest thing. That's a battery. The rest of the stuff isn't really heavy at all. I'm going to give you the full show here. Senzo's got a very nice belt that he got in Kenya. Good beadwork. Nice shorts. And he's got some gaiters on there to protect his socks. He's got them well buckled in. Very good, thanks, Senz. Oh, well, I don't think I showed you the antenna. One last thing. Sorry. There's the antenna pole. It sticks quite a long way up, probably a meter above Senzo's head. And what sometimes happens is, I'll try and show you, when the cameraman bends over to film, just bend over, Senz, dunk, 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 we get hits on the head. So that sometimes happens. When they're bending over to try and lean into an insect shot or something like that, dunk, you get a little tap on the head. At the moment, I'm guessing this backpack probably weighs 3 kgs. Whereas when we first started doing bushwalks, it weighed, I think, about 8 or 9 kgs, possibly more. We had 4 big, old school batteries that came off Noah's Ark. It was quite a thing walking back in the day. I was lucky enough to be a cameraman for a few bushwalks back then. So, very impressed with the renovations, and very happy to hear that a lot of you fashion icons dotted around the globe are giving Senzo the thumbs up for his style. He's definitely one of the most fashionable members of our crew. He actually bought himself a nice new pair of sunglasses yesterday, so we'll have to show you those the next time he's got them on, maybe when he's driving around. Cool. Okie dokie, guys, we're going to continue our stroll. Sadly, no tracks of the Shidulu female leopard nor Hukumuri male, but something could change at any moment, and we're going to continue scavenging for signs of animals and send you across to Steve with the bird.
Thank you, Scotty. Yes, indeed, Senzo is the most fashionable of our crew. Most of us have a daub collection of khaki, and that is about it. So thanks, Senzo, for always bringing a little bit of colour to the scene. We have got a bird there. It is a female redback shrike that is plumping itself up for our summer months with the insects and everything it might find. And part of obviously the shrike family, they are quite known for impaling insects and ripping them off, because they are quite predatory and they are very common, but do not breed here in South Africa. They'll be heading all the way north of the Sahara into northern Africa and as far as Europe. They'll be leaving pretty soon, probably in the next few weeks to a month. And an absolute specialist on insects. Really nice to see. McKelly's son would like to know what the rarest species of bird, I'm guessing, is. Well, we saw some southern ground hornbills yesterday on my way back from drive, so that's one of the rarest birds, I would say. Anything else I'm thinking off the top of my head? I mean, the grey-headed kingfisher I showed a few days ago is not very common to this area, only occurring sort of just in the north, and I'm lost for what other bird species. I'm going to have to think about that, but let me just say the southern ground hornbill is probably the most endangered species that we do come across. The rest of the birds seem to be doing quite well, but the southern ground hornbill, its habitat loss. We were talking before about the extension of the parks, and the ground hornbills are a very large bird, and they require a much larger area to traverse and to use as a territory than other birds will do. So due to habitat loss from fragmentation and habitat destruction because of encroachment of human settlements, we're seeing a decline in that species for sure. And because they are also quite large, their breeding is very, very slow. They will lay 2 eggs, and only one will be secured. The other one is sort of like a policy. What's the word? A second chance in case the first one doesn't hatch. It is there, but once the first one hatches, they abandon the second one, and they estimate it takes 10 years for southern ground hornbills to successfully reintroduce a new member into their family, and they can live for up to 30, close to 40 years. So for a bird, that is phenomenal. But because they are big and they breed slowly, their numbers do not cope or keep up with the destruction that is happening around them. So that is one of the flagship bird species for the Kruger Park, and one that we need to watch out for. And I'll show you a quick photo of it for those of you who have not seen. John would like to know if that shrike eats ticks, and I don't think so. I don't think so. Seb, we've got a display happening up in the sky. I wonder if you can catch that. Very obvious from a distance. Let's see if Seb can catch it. Oh, it's just disappearing over the trees. What a pity. What a pity. That was the display. You got him? It was a glimpse of the paradise, long-tailed paradise wider, and it is gone. But it was very obvious for such a small bird to stand out like that is what makes him so attractive to his ladies. So the shrike would be more of a hunt specialist. So it would sit there perched on the branch, and it would swoop down on any grasshoppers or anything that might land on the ground, or it might even do some gleaning off of the tree itself. But I've never seen one landing on a bird, on an animal, and picking off the ticks. That's something quite specialized to the oxpeckers. So the shrike would feed on quite large insects such as grasshoppers, praying mantises, will impale them on branches if they're too big and then rip them apart. That is what they're known for. So those of you who have not seen a southern ground hornbill, let me show you a picture. I apologize for the screen. I have got a replacement that we'll be putting on today. Very dark. There we go. There's a southern ground hornbill, which I would say is probably one of the rarest birds that we find here. Cool. Very interesting. And we are going to continue on. We are on Mumba Road, which is the road where we had where Scott left Tundi yesterday, or where she was found yesterday morning. So we are going to be keeping our eyes open, seeing if we can find her, and hopefully get my first glimpse for the month of that bundle of joy. But while we do so, go back over to Taylor, and I believe she is with some buffalo.
We've got a very sleepy buffalo and a couple of oxpeckers taking, well, a moment. And then, of course, we've got Hosana just watching in the grass. It might be difficult to even see him, but he's there. I promise he's there. He's probably only sitting about 40 meters away from that buffalo, and he doesn't mind. They don't know that he's there too. I want to see how good his, not stalking skills, but his slinking skills are going to be now if he decides to go a little bit further to the right, because he's got to expose himself. He's got to come out of those shadows. He's actually using the shadow to help conceal himself too. But I reckon he'll flatten himself right down onto the ground and crawl around. It's quite a good game. Now, as we sit here, everyone's, I'm sure, wondering why on earth the buffalo don't know that this leopard is here. And you're wondering why can't they smell him? Well, perhaps there's not much wind at all today. It's very, very gentle. And maybe he's also sitting upwind of them. Not upwind of them, sorry, downwind of them. So they won't be able to smell him very well. Anyways, he's just having a bit of a laugh, I think, this leopard. I think he's going, yep, I can cross off this encounter, this approach. It was great. I sat there for a long time, very close. Didn't know I was there. You're going to come and ask me to sign your logbook off for you, Hosana? This is so cool. I can't believe this cat. He's amazing. Robert, you're wondering if I know which buffalo species weighs more, the buffalo we get here in South Africa or the buffalo in the US. I'm going to Google that because I don't know. How much do buffalo, not my buffalo. Let me do that. Let's have a look, because I actually don't know the weight of them and I don't want to tell you stories. So hopefully we get a reliable site here. Okay, so I'm going to go with and say that it's probably ours. It says here, American bison gets to about 620 kilograms, maybe a little bit more. So let's go up to 700. And a big buffalo bull can weigh anywhere between, in South Africa, the Cape buffalo, African buffalo, can weigh anywhere between 600 and 800 kilos. It wouldn't surprise me if they got to a little bit more than that in the Mara. They were really, really big up there. So, look at that one. How is that a scary animal when it's showing its teeth and is half asleep? I mean, there's nothing terrifying about a buffalo when it looks like that. So I'm going to go and say that it's probably our buffalo that weigh a little bit more. But you always get those exceptions. There's some vehicles coming to join us. Wonderful. This is so amazing. We were so lucky this morning to get him and watch this whole situation sort of unfold. Not Sean girl. That cow looks a little bit suspicious. Yeah, she stood up and she sort of stared towards us, flaring her nostrils. I don't know if she's realized that there's something here. There we go. All waking up, a couple of them shifting around now, finding their spot. I think they don't really want to be in the sun too much. So it seems as though the hunger pains are already forming in Scott's stomach, because he's now decided to have a look at the leftovers of an elephant's breakfast.
Yes, I'm also taking a moment to say a prayer for this grass, which was butchered early this morning. And you'll notice that as Senzo zooms out, there's still quite a lot of grass that's been dropped on the ground here. And what would have happened is that the elephant would have broken this clump of grass off, possibly using its foot and its trunk to kick the grass at the base, and then it would have bitten off all the sugary, sweet parts of the grass and just discarded the rest. That's why we found it lying in the road like that. And if you look at this piece of grass over here, it's when the kind of stem starts to turn white, that's where you get the most sugary, tasty part of the the grass stem, and it's just a kind of good reminder of how fussy elephants can be, and why not? I would be the same if I was them. There's all these different things that they can feed on out here, and they take the best parts and leave the rest behind. And what they leave behind, I guess, will be little bonus tracks for animals like termites. For those of you on the Sunset Safari yesterday, we had a cool time making a time lapse of some harvester termites that were bringing in hundreds of tiny little blades of grass, and that would be a wonderful little bounty for them to stumble across. So I guess the elephants are just doing their bit for the other small animals that don't have the ability to break the grass, and a lot of the termites actually prefer dead, kind of lignified plants as opposed to the sweet, juicy ones. Taylor's right, I am getting a little bit peckish, although we had a wonderful dinner last night. We had a braai, which was a barbecue. We had boerewors and chicken pieces as the two meats on the braai. A delicious kind of salad, not salad, like a natural rice, seeds and butternut something or other. What you got here, Rex? Hey? Oh, cool. What a bonus. Haven't seen any of these for a long time. It's a dung beetle, but it doesn't seem to be doing too much here. Are you lost, buddy? There's no nice dung here. But hopefully he's got a plan. Haven't seen a dung beetle since I've been back, which I've actually been quite surprised by, especially seeing as though there's been a lot of rain. Another thing that also I've been wondering about is the lack of golden orb-web spiders. I think Byron had a sighting of one not long ago, but I mean, usually at this time of the year they are everywhere. But they're literally, I mean, I haven't seen one adult. I saw a garden orb-web spider the other day when we were missioning after some animal off-road, which I think is more impressive than the golden orb-web spider. But in general, it's been quite a bleak season for the insects. Hasn't been so bleak for the marulas, though. Oh no, that one's a bit fraught. We don't want to eat that. Where's a nice one? No, I really do want to eat one of these things, but I can't find any nice ripe ones. They need to kind of have gone a yellowish color. This one's too green. Okay, not so much luck here. We'll have to try the next tree. Oh, hi, Bacon. What a wonderful name you have. And you would like to know how many sweet grasses do we have out here? I don't have a clue. But if there's anybody that does know, it is Steve Falconbridge. That man loves his grass, and he'll probably be able to give you a bit more insight into it. I remember many years ago when I was still training to be a guide, Steve was actually the ecologist at a property where I worked before he started guiding there, and we went out. It was kind of more of a punishment than anything else, with Steve, the ecologist, as the newbies, and we had to do these grass surveys where we had to like walk through the bush, and every 10 meters we had to put in a stick, and then a 1 meter circumference around that we had to count the different types of grasses. I don't remember any of their names, nor how many of them were sweet, but hopefully he will. That was back in 2008. Can you believe it? Anyway, I think it's an appropriate time to send you across to Steve so he can tell you how useless I am.
Scotty, I think you've just put it out of your memory, that experience we had with the grasses. Now, to maybe let the viewers understand what Scott is talking about the grasses survey that we did, I was a conservation student, also a practicing guide at Singita in the Kruger National Park. At the same time, Scott was training, so we were doing a lot of training together, but at the same time I was doing conservation work for Singita, and I needed assistance with a grass survey because we were doing a fire policy there. And so I asked Alan Yoet, who was the instructor, who was training Scott and the other guys from the Sabi Sand side. And I said, listen, Alan, I need some help to do a grass survey. They will learn about grasses. It's Scott, James, Marlon, and Ben with the other students or other trainees. They came through excited as all to come through and do a grass survey where we walk through the bush measuring the height of the grass and the species and the distance between. It's quite an elaborate process, but they learnt the process very quickly, and they knew we were going to be walking in the African wilderness for a week. How exciting that's going to be. But essentially to measure the grass standing height, I'm going to demonstrate it for you quickly. The standing height of the grass is this height over here. Let me just go back a bit. Will this be better, Seb? So this is not the standing height of the grass. This patch over here is the standing height. And there is a mechanism called a disc pasture meter, which has got a nice long ruler and a disc. It's about that circumference, and it's a loose sleeve that goes up and down this bar. And if you hold it and you drop it, it's an aluminium sheet. When you drop it, it settles on the grass, and then it gives you a reading here, and that tells you the standing height. Now, you can imagine walking through the African wilderness with an aluminium drum, so to speak, smacking the ground every foot. You'll take a step, you'll put it down, drop it. Take a step, put it down, drop it. And you measure the grass species and the height. And the noise that made, we didn't see a single animal that entire week. So they were excited. We're going to be walking in the bush. We're going to see all these animals. But everything was just chased away by the sound of the disc pasture meter. So I think Scott has forgotten all of the grasses we learned back there purely because it was a horrible experience for him. Wonderful to be out in the bush. And for me, it saved a lot of time because I had 3 teams versus just myself. So I was able to do the survey in a third of the time as opposed to take 3 times. So I'm sure Scott will remember some of the names if I bring it up, but I hate to imagine giving him any nightmares. So sweet grasses that we find in the area, I will list them for you. Buffalo grass, Ohio bacon, is that the name? Oh, hi bacon, you asked what sweet grasses. Oh, hi bacon, what an interesting name. Buffalo grass, red grass, finger grass are 3 of probably the most sweetest grasses that you'll find out here. And when we talk about sweet, I would say they're the 3 dominant sweet grasses. The rest of the grasses underneath them have got a different sort of level of feeding, and they're not as sweet. Foxtail grass is also quite a nice grass. It was also known as white buffalo grass. That's also got quite a sweet taste to it. And a lot of the other grasses have got medium to average or very low. All of the pioneer grasses have got very low value. They might taste nice, but there's no leaf, so to speak. So what's nice about red grass, finger grass, and buffalo grass is that they are very palatable, which means they've got very low chemicals in them, and they've got a huge amount of leaf. So that is quite interesting. And I think with Scott, he was trying to learn a few of the grasses, and hopefully one day I'll sit him down and get him to understand how important the grasses are. Out of 91 species in the Kruger Park, only 11 or 12 are relevant from a management point of view, and they can give you the condition. And that's what Scott helped me to establish that time. The condition and the burn policy and the biomass was really good work. And I'm sad that he's forgotten it, but I'm sure it is for the best. And while we continue on looking for Tundi and any sign of her cub, we're going to go back over to Taylor for an update.
Well, a buffalo is shuffling around a little bit. I haven't moved much, so I think it's just the sun that's encouraging them to move. And now we're going to watch. Let's see if Hosana is going to make the dash. See how a lot of the buffalo have actually turned away. Let's see how low he's going to slink. Come on, do it. Show us your leopard crawl. He's coming to us. He's coming right up to us now. He's going to sit in my shade of the car. I hope not. Oh, so I was trying to stay out of frame, and I ended up going into it. No one saw him. Not one buffalo knows that he's here. Where are you going now, big boy? He's such a kif leopard. This is amazing. Sorry, kif is a slang word. I shouldn't be using that. Here he goes. Look how camouflaged he is. No, we will try and get another view of him. And Turbo, before I move off, though, answer your question, we're wondering if I'm not afraid that a leopard or a lion would jump into my car. Well, you think then I would be terrified as Hosana approached the vehicle, but I'm really not. I'm very relaxed. These animals are habituated to the car, so because we've been spending so much time with them, they get used to us. They get used to us moving around. They get used to the sounds of our voices. So it really doesn't bother them too much at all. And if an animal is going to jump into the vehicle, they're going to give us some signs. They're going to show some agitation signs. We're quite a big object, remember, so we're quite intimidating ourselves. Right, let's carry on. Let's go see where Hosana's gone. We might have to check very carefully because the grass gets very long here. And we just saw how easily he disappeared, so I just want to watch the stump. He just missed it. Okay, now we're good, huh? Have we got him? Oh, there he is. Oh, okay, I'm going to go forward. I see. It's going to be very difficult to try and keep an eye on him in this tall grass. There he goes again. We'll just watch him. He's just under that arch of the tree with a buffalo looking in his direction. Now, Joan, you're wondering if Hosana has started scent marking yet. He has indeed. We actually watched him the other morning. The first time I saw a leopard being back in the Sabi sand, which was a few days ago. We actually found Hosana. It was really amazing. And he scent marked right in front of us. He was rubbing his face up against trees and on branches. He was urinating as well up against vegetation. So yes, he's definitely scent marking. Look at that. You can barely even see that there's a leopard in there. And he's really not far from us either. That is insane, that camouflage. It really just goes to show, though. You've got to be careful when you're walking in this tall stuff. You don't really want to walk in very tall grass, though. Because imagine if the buffalo was sitting down in the spot that Hosana was sitting in, you probably wouldn't see them either. And we actually saw this in the Mara with all the tall grass that was around and how there were so many buffalo that you just about drive into them before you realize that they were even there. So I don't think I'm going to be coming to walk this side with all of this lush vegetation. I'll stick to the shorter stuff. Not that I'm too worried about walking into a Hosana these days. He seems to be so relaxed and doesn't mind it. As long as you don't step on his tail, he'll probably be okay with you being in the area. Oh, the oxpeckers have just arrived now. Okay, more buffalo. Now, a question from Proud Cat Mama, so I've just got to wrap my brain around this. Are solitary predators more aggressive than social predators? So I suppose ones that are living in prides and things like that. Ah, okay, there we go, just checking. Well, I suppose when you're living on your own, you've got to have your wits about you a little bit more, because there's no one to watch your back. So, for example, typically a leopard. However, when you are living in a family group, and you've got lots of little ones around, again, you're also going to be quite aggressive. So I would say, though, you tend to see lions a little bit more on the relaxed side, because there are a lot more eyes and ears to watch out for other predators that could be popping on by. And then you might find that solitary predators are a little bit more on the defensive side. They might act a little bit more aggressively to a situation because they're on their own. There's no one to help them in the fight. And like Scott said, these animals don't have medical aid, so they're going to try and avoid conflict as best as they can. But again, it's so difficult to say. These animals, Archer, we're really lucky. I mean, most of the time they are really relaxed and they're not wanting, like what Scott was saying, they don't go out looking for fights. Not all the time, unless you're maybe a new male leopard in the area. Perhaps a coalition of lions have come through, a new group of males, and they're wanting to kick out the others. Then, of course, they're coming in with their boxing gloves, their arms ready to, of course, kick whoever out. So, yes, I suppose that also happens too. But looking for fights doesn't happen too often, though. I can probably count on my hands how many times I've seen